Bobby Petrino is in the building, and immediately the Razorbacks start winning. This is Arkansas Basketball Recap. I'm Daniel Price. That's Jacob Price to recap the Arkansas Razorbacks 80-75 victory over the 5-1, 7th ranked in the country, Duke Blue Devils. They look like Bluke. I'm sure they feel like Bluke right now. Man, I'll tell you what, there's a lot. The last couple of episodes of this have been a little bit boring because we've been like, yeah, the defense isn't very good. So, you lose. And that's been the breakdown. There's not been like tons to digest. Not so today, because there's lots to talk about. In some ways, early on when the schedule was released, you had this one circled and you were like, what if? What if this is a, top 10 matchup? What if, both teams are undefeated or, 5-1 or whatever? That didn't play out that way. It played out that Arkansas dropped out of the rankings. Duke was playing really well, and it only lost to Arizona, who's the second-ranked team in the country right now. So it was going to be a different game than you thought. And if that wasn't bad enough that you had problems you were trying to work out and you weren't putting teams away and your defense had stuff to fix, your best player thus far in the season, he's out. And the hold on, I got
anything for the guy.
Sorry, I had a ad.
What was that? What was that?
Did you hear that?
Huh? Yeah. I thought it was your wife. I thought your wife came in the room.
No, that was an ad playing on the stats I had pulled up. I forgot to mute my desktop. Anyway,
my phone.
So you have all of that going on, and then your best player's hurt. And in Must We Trust, but you feel like, man, this might not go well. And you listen to the pundits and they said this might not go well. But Must does what Must does. And it seems to me what happened in this game is that one, the guys, I don't know what Must broke down for them defensively, but they fixed some of that. And it Must just had a really great defensive game plan, which is a huge part of it. And then the guys executed it. And huge win, dude. I mean, that's a huge win for where we're at right now.
Yeah,
Bobby Petrino's sitting there next to Sam Pittman, and you just the magic's back.
Yeah, I bet that was fun. I mean, that's definitely punctuated a exciting at the very least. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, depending, but prospective hire for the football. Because man, I don't know about. We haven't talked about football at all, but I just haven't paid any attention to football because it's been too heartbreaking. But as far as this game goes, I think, stepping back and looking at the overall, yeah, like obviously great win. Season, defining win as of this moment. Obviously, like there's a lot more to happen. You don't know what could happen. You could lose every game from here on out, but potentially really something that could be the catalyst to getting you back on track.
Potentially like corner turning. I mean, like we can play, but the defense looked great tonight. I mean, there's still some things to clean up. We still foul too much in bad places, but it looked much improved.
Yeah, I would be careful. I mean, you know me, like I'm always, I don't know, I feel like being a little bit pessimistic, but I would say I would be careful about saying turn the corner. Like I said, if I had to guess, I'd say more realistically, my assessment of that game was, like you said, good defensive plan, but a little bit of almost like things that it was so improbable, or like not improbable, but there was no reason to expect us not only to not to win, but like even probably to get beat pretty good, solidly by Duke, based on the way we've been playing and the fact that Mark's out. It was home court advantage, so that definitely did help, and I was very proud of the crowd. Was awesome, especially after probably a somewhat disappointing couple of 3 of the last 4 games being losses, and even the one that you won, you looked really bad in and probably almost, you could have lost that game very easily. But um I think tonight there was a little bit of, well, one, you did almost blow it at the end, which is kind of a bummer. We gotta learn to break presses better. But also that game definitely had a little bit of the feel of some of our games have felt like early on, where I bet if you're a Duke fan, you're like, have missed more layups and we could not have helped them anymore. We missed wide open threes. We missed all kinds of buckets where we got all the way to the cup and they just rolled out. We had a bunch of opportunities for and ones and the ball just wouldn't go down. And that is true. Now, part of that is good effort on defense and affecting a lot of those shots, but some of those did toilet bowl right out. You know what I mean? And I think if I, like I said, we had a good game and Duke had kind of a bad game. Now, we were part of why Duke had a bad game, but they also did miss wide open looks too.
Let
They
me.
got a couple of pretty good looks from the
I had a
3-point line.
feeling. I see. I had a feeling. Like here's the thing. So you'd be like, hey man, like we're not going to shoot that bad from three most games. If you're Duke, usually I say this. Our best player got in foul trouble and didn't play for only played for the first 10 minutes of the first half, and then you saw how good he was in the second half. That's all great. I will counter you with our leading scorer and best player played 0 minutes because he was sitting there on the bench, right? So like, if you're like, the big thing I think is that Bud Walton is a difficult place to win when it's like that. Now, obviously, you're like, well, I don't know, like Greensboro came in here and beat you. Well, it wasn't like that, and a couple of other things is that we didn't get off to a slow start. Like we were throwing punches from the jump. We never got down in this game by, I mean, it was just back and forth. We never got down. I think the most we were ever down was 5 in this game. And then we were like 90 seconds later, we were up 1, like it wasn't like a prolonged period. But yeah, I mean, I think Bud Walton, when it's rocking like that, I mean, historically under Muss, when Bud Walton's like that, you win a lot, and that was the case tonight. But I just think the defense wasn't perfect. At the end of the game, the press, I mean, Muss said in the tunnel, like, well, we're going to be going over press break this week. I tell you that. That's probably a good idea. The other thing was Devo didn't play that much in the second half because he did, bounced his head off the court. Mark's out, doesn't play at all. It's a lot to overcome when you're playing a team that is probably going to win the ACC, and has only lost to Arizona. That's a lot. It's a lot to overcome. I mean, like, your best player's gone. Your team leaders out the second half, most of the second half. He comes in at the very end. I was wondering where he was. I don't know if he was concussed or what, but he obviously didn't want to put him back out there after that. I don't think it was anything to do with the way he was playing. I think, I mean, it clearly had something to do, I think, with him having stitches in his face.
Yeah,
But
I think, I mean, it was just probably preventative, especially because the minutes that he held him out was when we were building that lead. And I'm sure he was like, well, I'm not going to put him back in there. He probably was like just resting him for a second or thinking about maybe putting him back in. And then was like, well, I'm not going to put him back in if we've got a 13-point lead.
With like fresh stitches above your eye. It just seems
yeah.
like.
And then with a minute left and when the game got down to 5, he was like, okay, well, I guess I have to put him back in.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that there's a lot of things to be encouraged by with all of that stuff being said. It wasn't perfect, but battle, like, dude, your foul selection is terrible, and it might have been a little bit better, but it needs to get better than that. Even, I mean, fouling guys 35 feet from the basket, fouling guys on corner threes, on closeouts. Don't do that. The press break, well, obviously was terrifying at the end. However, like, they overcame a lot, like with Mark out and Devo not playing.
Well, I mean, I
kind of,
I don't know, like, I mean, What I mean, I think is I don't think that necessarily, and maybe we will, but I still don't know if Muss has got the recipe yet.
Mhm.
This felt like a little bit with Mark being out. This felt to me like it was like, okay, that whole we got to go back to the drawing board. Now I'm trying to mix up a whole new meal here. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So he was just kind of throwing things out there and seeing what worked. But and this
Except
is like
except for except for the defensive strategy, which is obviously very well thought out.
yeah, I'm more talking about on offense. And I think part of it why I mean just like every cliche in every movie ever, which is the everything in life that seems bad now, not everything, but most good things that you look back on started from something bad, like the losing of a job or the
Mhm.
breaking up of a relationship, but they lead to all the good things. I mean, it's very cliche. And I mean, it's very possible that Mark getting hurt is like if he doesn't get hurt and you just lose after he plays, a great game, and now you're going into this game with you basically like I guess the same thing. You just hope Mark can score. You hope your defense can get better and he can keep scoring like that. But you still have um Ellis and
Dude,
Battle
Brazil,
and these.
Brazil, Brazil had a big fat and 0 in that last game against North Carolina.
Well, and those guys, the thing that was maybe, I mean, is potentially possible is like if Mark has that good of a game and then starts this game, I feel like there's like a still that pressure on Ellis and those guys. Like they know that they need to defer to Mark, one, because he's the best player by obviously now, and Battle has been struggling offensively. So it feels like they all were going to be having that thought in the back of their head, like, should I be passing this to Mark, or if I'm going to shoot this, I better not miss because I'm taking, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that well. Whereas with Mark out, I feel like it actually relieved that constraint because it was like, there's probably no way we're going to be able to beat Duke without Mark. And I'm going to I mean, I say this all the time. I mean, you've been on teams where you're like, you look around and you're like, okay, we don't have a very good chance at this. And so a guy that normally on a different team, you'd be like, please don't take every shot. You know what I mean? Like now you're like, hey, dude, you're gonna have to shoot, and they're gonna have to go in because well, I'm gonna be setting you some screens because we don't have a very good offense here, and you're the best shooter. You know what I mean? Like, and it felt like a little bit of that where you're just like, yeah. I mean, I've been on teams like that where I'm even like, well, I've got to score. I've got to try to score because we just don't have very much going on here. And it felt like there is a certain relief when you don't have to really think about um deferring, or you know what I mean, you can just be like, well, I just have to make something happen because we don't have a very good chance, and so something good's got to happen. It just feels like it loosens you up a little bit in the beginning. And what I think this game could be, like that, I predict that you're going to continue to see struggles over the next half a dozen games or so while we still figure this out. But I think this could have been. You could have seen a much different game if we played another one where Ellis struggles and gets benched and doesn't play a lot of minutes. You're starting to see real ego and confidence deflation, whereas this one, it was the opposite. I mean, you saw it build and build and build in both Battle and in Ellis. And I mean, even Ellis is getting blocks, and you
Yeah.
could even see like he had swagger. He blocks that guy, and he looks at him, and it just felt like, okay, yeah, there it is. Remember, like you know how to fucking play basketball. You remember this game. You know how this game goes. Like,
Yeah.
get your swagger back. Stop gripping all the time. You know how to, you're a basketball player. And it felt like him in Battle were able to get some of that back. And obviously, I didn't feel like Brazil lost it as much, although he did have a terrible game last game. So that was great. I mean, and honestly, yeah, I mean, really, you couldn't have asked. Everybody played well. I mean,
Well, let me
uh,
and let me make sure that people don't misinterpret what you're saying, unless I'm misinterpreting what you're saying. I do not believe you're saying that we're better with that we could potentially be better without Tremont Mark, but that in the absence of him, that could be beneficial for the guys that, and hopefully that can carry over for when you get him back.
Yeah, I mean it's like when your main running back goes, tweaks an ankle and you put the backup in and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh wow, we really got something in this backup." I mean, it lets you it
Well,
gives guys a chance.
hopefully it makes it to where he doesn't have to do all that heavy lifting when he gets back, and it's much better.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I still think that there's going to probably be some struggles as they iron it out. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they just, freaking to the moon from here. But I think, like I said, there were some things in that game that made me think, we played really well, but we still got some stuff to iron out.
But let's
There was still some, some fast break things, like you said, some fouling things. Luckily, I mean, Duke just I mean, we made them play poorly, and it was one of those games like how it goes when it rains, it pours. Like when the
yeah.
layups don't go down, you also have a bunch of stupid fouls, and you have to sit on the bench, and just feels like
I,
I mean, that's
did you think our passing was much better? Because I did.
at times there was a
Yeah,
couple of times where, dude, we swang the ball. I mean, and I wanted to be like, call a timeout, bring me the iPad. Hey guys, do this every time.
yeah,
What you just did right here, do this every time. I mean, they moved. There was one possession where they just moved the ball so fast and so crisp, no one hesitated. And every time, if they caught it, if the defender was coming at them, they just took the dribble. The other guy came over to help. They kicked it, and I think they ended up getting a dunk. I think Lawson got a dunk on that one. Or no,
yeah,
that was the one where I think it was the one. If you go back and watch, it goes all around the perimeter, down low, drives in, hands it to blocker for the dunk.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Just
yeah.
like basically like tosses it to him on the backside for the wide open dunk. And those are the shots that I've been talking about. Like we got to get way more of those because
But
luckily tonight we
what
did.
else we got this game that we weren't getting though, and it was partially because of the ball movement, partially because of the zone. But you still got to move like when he's playing zone, you got to move the ball quick to break down a zone. Corner threes, like we were getting clean looks, dude, like clean looks, and that's not because Duke sucks, because they don't. Like that's because you're moving the ball.
Yeah, and you could see it too because there was a couple of times in the second half when they started to make the comeback where Battle got maybe a little too much feeling himself,
Yeah,
and he took a couple of. You can see that like it's like well, we didn't even pass the ball one time.
yeah,
Like Ellis dribbled it up, passed it to you. You dribbled around at the elbow, and then just
yeah.
jab stepped and pulled up a 30-footer. And I mean, like I said, obviously he made some tough shots too that didn't look good when they went up, but they went in.
Like
So it's
when
like
he lost control of the ball and just shot it with one hand
I
anyway.
wasn't sure. He has a really quick wrist action. That almost looks like I'm not sure if he was actually losing it or because he kind of has one of those ones where he jumps and it's like kind of snap and it kind of looks weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, I mean I thought Mitchell played good. I thought Lawson played well. I was actually surprised Davenport didn't get minutes in the second half
He was
because
huge in the first half.
because I thought he played really well. Like I was really excited about that dude. I mean, I was stoked for everybody. Like Ellis got his swagger back in the second half. Davenport, I was like, dude, to me, that like because even Jay Billis was saying he's not really known as a defender. He's more of a shooter, and I mean he can hit shots on the move and mid range and fadeaways and 3-pointers. And to me, Davenport looked like what Battle needs to do, which is it looked like Davenport. I'm not saying he consciously thought this. Am I freezing?
No, you're good.
Okay. I thought maybe you were looking at me like maybe I
No,
was like
no,
stuck or
no.
something. Um, but he looked to me like he was like, Coach is not going to play me unless I do what uh, Walker's doing, which is
Yeah.
defend. So I don't care about offense anymore. I'm not looking for my shot. I'm going to commit myself to defense and energy and rebounding, and then the shots will come. And they did. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like he didn't I mean he actually did force one, but after he started hitting some and started feeling it, he looked like he was committed, like I'm just gonna focus on defense.
Yeah.
And and then he looked like that the last game too. Like he looked like he was putting a lot of effort into defense and
Yeah,
rebounding.
I think there's a role for him. I do. I think that yeah, I mean obviously you don't have Mark and stuff, but I think there's a role for him for Davenport. More and more, I'm starting to think that. You know, I mean, dude, you saw Jalen Graham for like 30 seconds, and then that was the end of that. don't know if I don't know. Graham's in a tough spot. I feel like Mitchell is who Mitchell is, and who he is, and he's going to do what he does. And Brazil, if you're talking about your 4s and 5s, Brazil is just Brazil. He also, what that is. But I feel like Lawson has played really well. Like defensively, Lawson is so much better than Graham. That's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, he's starting to, in my opinion, he's getting better.
Yeah.
Like he's getting more disciplined. Um, he's and he does have one of those, like he just doesn't make a ton of mistakes, even on offense. I mean, early when he got the ball a few times, he tried to dribble a little bit too much.
He did that once tonight where he lost the ball trying to, but like it's like his contest. I mean, and
You can
rebounding.
you can tell in high school he could dribble on high schoolers.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like even as big as he is and stuff, you could tell like in high school he probably could put the ball on the floor and take some guys to the rack. But like I mean, it scares me when he starts dribbling like 14 feet
yeah,
from the
yeah.
basket. But no, I think he's getting better, more disciplined. He's passing a little bit better. Like
Yeah,
he's
dude,
getting the ball.
and he's got a 7 wingspan, and you don't. So like, I mean, it's just a lot. I mean, like that can like him contesting a guy trying to shoot like like a high post pull up is. You imagine that, dude? You're like, oh, I'm open, and then like that dude comes flying out at you. Like I'm missing that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and then in Brazil's the same way. Like only instead of arm length, it's jumping and like and just
Yeah.
general length.
Yeah.
But
Let's talk about that real quick. I want to get into some other players, but to me, player of the game is Trevin Brazil, because of what he did on defense. And then obviously, what does he end up with? 19 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks. I thought he was a real big difference maker. I mean, he was rebounding hard, and he had a tough guy to rebound. He had a tough dude to rebound against, and he rebounded well, shot the ball. It played a ton of minutes. I thought he was. I mean, it was a good game for him. We needed him to have that kind of game.
yeah, I mean,
And Battle was big too. I mean, Battle ends up with 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. So I don't want to. I mean, it's between those two guys. I think, in my opinion. But
I thought Blocker was really good too. I mean, I know he just kind of got diluted into the whole game, but like he had some moments, especially I think maybe in the first half, where he had some serious energy plays, did a little bit of scoring. I mean, that one fast break layup he made was pretty tough, actually.
dude, that one they missed. They gave credit to Ellis for it, but it was a blocker. But they went in there as a loose ball. Like Blocker recovered it and just like turned and spun and just chucked that thing down the court. He did that I think twice, where he just had outlet passes, and that like quick too, and that's pretty heady stuff. He that press bothered him a little bit at the end. But I mean, he's a freshman. I'll tell you this: Leighton Blocker is going to be very good.
It's funny that press. It looked like Musselman was like, well, I got so much to focus on. We're not going to work on press break because I've got like 6 guards. I'll just put 4 guards out there. They'll be able to get the ball up the floor. But I mean, dude, we got to set some off-ball screens. Like
Yeah,
everybody was just standing there staring. I mean, it felt like, I mean, you've been in games like this before where you're just like, no, don't lose the ball. But like you forget, like your part, like go get it. And
yeah.
nobody was setting any screens. And every time they catch the ball, they do the thing where they're rushing in and catching it stopped instead of like
Yeah,
run past him so you're
yeah,
moving when you catch
yeah.
it. Like or
Who didn't do that when he got in the game? Devo.
Devo, yeah.
He
Yeah,
just
catch it,
caught him.
catch it, catch it running up the sideline.
Yeah,
It's very hard to double team somebody without fouling if they're
yeah,
moving away when they catch it. But if they have to catch it and stop, then they collapse. It's like we kept doing it.
yeah, yeah.
But
But I think Blocker. I think Razorback. I mean, Razorback fans should be excited about Blocker. He'll be real important. He'll be real important this year. I think he's going to play a big role. He's going to be important this year. But that's he for a freshman, and you're looking at him, you're like, yeah, that's going to be good. And I know this sounds weird, not that Blocker won't go play in the NBA or something, but he doesn't look like a I hope he stays kind of guy. You're like, I think you're gonna have him for a little while, and I'm sure he could be diva, you know. I mean, maybe even better. He's got like he's shifty, dude. I mean, you think about a dude coming out of high school playing against guys that went to Duke, and he broke some dude's ankles, dude. Like, I mean, he's got some moves for sure. He's I mean, he was a high ranked recruit and everything, but Arkansas boy, you gotta love it. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Layden Blocker for sure, and I'm a fan of anyone who's just like from the jump is gonna like get down a defensive stance like crazy and just be diving on the floor and all that stuff. So that's great.
Yeah, overall, I mean, honestly, coming into yesterday, thinking Mark's not playing. It's going to come into Bud Walton for the first time in friggin' 30 years and beat us on our home court. The football team's terrible. I like Sam Pittman, but he probably needs to be fired because look at how bad this is. And like now we're going to have him for another 3 years and limp along, and then we'll fire him, and then here we go again, another 20 years. And it's like, Bobby Petrino. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, that might be the the
Dude,
catalyst of burning the whole system down, but it's at least hope. It's like, oh, well, there you go. And then you beat Duke and look like, oh, well, maybe we aren't completely lethargic and this like team can't figure out defense whatsoever. And it's like, oh no, we hold Duke to a really reasonable score. And like I said, there's hope all the way around. It's a new day.
It's a new day, dude. Did you Bobby Petrino today trying to get all the Arkansas fans right in the feels, dude? Tweets out and then pins it to his Twitter profile or his X profile, a picture of him and Ryan Mallett. And he says, it's you and me, 15. Now let's go get Arkansas a championship. And you're like, oh, that's, I mean, just going right to the heart of all the Arkansas fans. So it's great. It's great. That's a good move.
I think he needs to, just to sort of stab fun at himself, because it's a local meme. He needs to have one of the play cards needs to have him in the press conference with the neck brace and the road rash.
That's like full redemption. It's full redemption.
Like the Incredible Hulk, Snoopy, Bobby Petrino in a neck brace. It'll be like him making fun of himself.
Dude, I know this is the basketball recap, but I will say, because that is a big thing. And maybe there's some, and I've seen some fans that don't like it. I don't know. I guess they don't like.
I don't know if I don't know if I like it. Like I mean,
but they don't like it because they're like, I don't know, he's a bad guy or something. I don't know, but like for me, like I'm here for the redemption story. Like I'm here for him being awesome, and because dude, that's what you want. Like, I mean, like great, like, I mean,
dude, I mean, you know me, I don't like unfaithful men, and do not think I don't take it lightly. I don't think it's cool. I think he's a bad, selfish son of a bitch, and it makes it way worse that he hired somebody and took somebody else's job. Like the whole thing is gross, and I do not like it. But it's been a long time, and people are capable of change.
Yeah,
and
I sure hope so.
I'm certainly trepidatious about the hire. Like I know he has a big ego. I know has a reputation for being a little bit of a jerk, and I can definitely see a version where, because Pittman seems to have almost no ego, where that creates conflict in a weird way. But I can also see a way where it balances it out too. And maybe Bobby Petrino's changed, and I mean he's gotten a lot older, and maybe he's gotten wiser. And no, I mean it might, like I said, it could be a disaster. It could be a train wreck. It could be end like what's his name in USC. I'm talking about, like,
but I'm here to root for a good redemption story.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, it creates an interesting storyline. It it is hopeful because there's never been a question about Bobby Petrino's talent as an offensive
And by the way,
mind.
I am a fan of people like becoming better versions of themselves too. Like I'm a fan of that.
Well, and it is cool to have like I feel like we've been starved for this with every single coach that we've had is with what we let a little bit slip through our fingers, maybe with Gus Malzahn, even though I mean I don't know, you could argue about that, but an innovative offensive mind where,
Mhm.
and I'm by that I mean Bobby Petrino is one of the guys that is credited with like, and by one I mean like one of 50 guys, but like notably that was progressive genius offensively and did a lot to change systems with the way he structured his offenses and stuff. And I mean that's exciting, like because it's never been he's never really shown that he isn't able to develop a quarterback and get whatever out of him, whether it be throwing or any. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he
Yeah.
started that whole thing. It's like he can if we got a running guy. I mean, Hornsby or whoever it ends up being, like it'll be fun to see this season, especially like watching a guy drop back that's his talent, like has the athletic ability that of KJ, and just having him stand like a stat. I mean, the first 4 games, I was like, what is happening? We
Yeah.
just like it looked like we thought we had Tom Brady, like an immobile pocket passer, and our running back just ran right up the middle every time. I was like, where's the creativity? Where's the slants? Where's the wheel routes? What is going on here? And yeah, I mean, like I said, it could be a disaster, but it's definitely exciting, and there's potential for it to not just be good, but potential for it to be a really cool story. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously rooting for it.
Yeah, for
But,
sure. Anyway, that aside, it was kind of cool to see him and Sam Pittman sitting next to each other at the game. It's cool.
mhm.
Um, but
And when
yeah,
I went to the Sugar Bowl and I played roulette with his brother or brother-in-law. I can't remember which one it was. And back then he told me, he was like, and this was, before any scandal or anything, he just said, Bobby loves it down there. He's like,
yeah,
he talks about it all the time. He just thinks he's found his home. He loves it down there. And I didn't have any reason not to believe him. So I think, and Bobby did seem bummed when he made the mistake. I mean, it was his fault. He had no one to blame but himself. But he did seem like he didn't want to go. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And like he was bummed that he had done that. And so that's cool. Like if he seemed like he could be the kind of guy like what it appears Musselman is, and it appears Pittman is, which is a good coach. Well, Pittman, maybe the jury's still out on, but the kind of guy that wants to be here. And not everybody's that way. Like when you're at Arkansas, or really, I mean, you have to face facts. Like when you're at Arkansas or Mississippi or even A&M, like if you do too well, and one of the big blue bloods is not doing so well, or their coach is old, they come take your coach.
yeah,
You know what I
dude,
mean? And
did you see that environment tonight though? How do you not want like if you that's the other thing that's so great about that is like how can you not want to be here? Because
oh,
like, dude, like if you build it here, dude, like that's one thing about Arkansas that I think the rest of the country doesn't understand. And I know we're supposed to be recapping this game, but a lot of the country doesn't understand the fan base here. And um, if you're putting a good product on the field or on the court, like the fans are as good as anywhere.
mhm. Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, like I said, I feel like it depends. Some coaches want other things, though. Some coaches, they do. I mean, people that aren't from here, even if you come and have success, some people, this is a flyover state. They want to ultimately be in California, New York, Miami, somewhere, or if not that, then at the school that gets
yeah,
the pizza commercials and the Pepsi commercials. You know what I mean? They want to be at Kansas or Duke or Kentucky, and uh, but there are once in a while you get the guy like you at Gonzaga, where it's just like I love this place and it's good enough for me. So I'm gonna
yeah,
make this work. You know what I mean? And it looks like we kind of have that with Musselman. I mean, fingers crossed. Obviously, he's a California guy, and like that is a little scary. I'm always looking at UCLA, like, don't you even think about it, because that seems like the one job. Like UCLA, whoever brings them back to like ultimate greatness will be beloved
yeah.
because that program's got that history. But it kind of looks like he's like sees what we've got here and like is like I could make this my I could Arkansas could be my Gonzaga, even though I know it's not quite the same because we're bigger than Gonzaga. But I'm just saying that kind of a thing. And I think Petrino from there's a chance Petrino's that same way. Like there's a chance he might stick around as an offensive coordinator because he kind of understands the culture, was beloved, screwed us, and now still wants option. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, if you made it through all that and you're like, I don't even watch football and don't care about any of that, I will say this. Winning this game is a lot better than losing this game. It is I tend to agree with Jake. I don't think it's like the corners entirely turned, but like, man, you're definitely moving in the right direction. I mean, you watch that game tonight and you wonder how you lost to North Carolina Greensboro because that team doesn't, right? And so that's a good thing.
And it's also, I mean, it's a very least. I mean, obviously, no one can predict what it will end up being, but what it certainly is right now is it kept us afloat. Like it kept us from sinking further and more, obviously, just not losing. Like we were in a little bit of a spiral. And, while I expected to lose this game and I wasn't going to be, distraught, it's not great. You know what I mean? Like you didn't want to lose 4 out of the last 5 games and be upside down in your record and headed towards conference play. Like it's definitely not ideal. So no, I mean hopefully it'll be the springboard, but it was at the very least we're not going down anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was great. And it's Duke, dude. And I don't know why, but like I don't like Duke.
Yeah, Duke doesn't bother me, I guess, as much as some of the other blue bloods, but
1994 Duke, you can't beat us. We owned a series. We've played them now 5 times. We won 3. What's up, Duke?
I think it was I just always didn't I was hard it was hard to hate Krzyzewski and I actually did kind of like Leitner in his loudmouth thing back in the day. So and I mean it's one of the most iconic games and shots in basketball history. So I don't know. Like I said, I definitely don't like Kansas and Kentucky and honestly, weirdly, Ohio State, just been all sports. Like they bother me more than Duke does for some reason.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Kentucky looks very good. And so we got a couple of those games on the schedule.
They beat the hell out of Miami.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. And hey, the good thing is that an ACC SEC challenge, which ends 7-7, so they won 7 games, we won 7 games. So there you go. We were the one that tied that up. If we'd have lost, that would have been bad. We were the last game.
Yeah, I feel bad for Tennessee, dude. Tennessee's a good team, and they've had a worse stretch than we have.
Dude, do you know about their schedule coming up too? They got to play Purdue and Arizona.
Like who did their scheduling? Dang.
It's a crazy schedule they have coming up. But yeah, so Tennessee loses to North Carolina, who Arkansas lost to, but Arkansas beats Duke, and that kind of just shows you that I guess the encouraging thing is that does Arkansas have the talent to be a really good basketball team and beat very good basketball teams? Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they just gotta put it together. Well, no one's gonna watch this when they see 53 minutes on the freaking screen. So
all right, we'll leave it there. Hogs are off till Monday, so we'll come back Monday night and recap the Furman game. But till then, we'll see you later.
See you later.